Hello, and welcome back to our Universal Laws of Wealth series. We are on day 6, and day 6 is about the law of love and the law of abundance. Now, the law of love really stems from the law of belief. We talked about the law of belief last week. We understand that belief actually means to love, it's a requirement that we believe in what we want, that we give it attention, that we believe in it, that we love something. But I wanted to talk about specifically how love activates abundance because that's why it's so important. We know that we do need to love in order to create. But here's why. Hello again. We need to love because it activates something called abundance in a very specific way. If we don't love, abundance meets us somewhere else. So, whatever we're giving attention to, is getting an intensity of energy, and the universe considers that what you love. It considers it a love frequency. So the intensity of something, when abundance has been applied to something, then we get more of it. So good morning, it's good to see you. So in that abundance energy, what we experience is the amplification of what we're focusing on, the amplification of what we're giving attention to. So for me, and for I think a lot of us who are tuning into this conversation, it's possible that you've been looking for money to buy love. And I know that was actually very literal for me. So when I was a girl, my biological father, who, isn't someone that I have a deep relationship with now, but when I was younger, my father would keep connected to me through buying things. He would purchase things or do physical things to demonstrate love and affection. And so there was a continual buying of my love and affection. It was more of a control based energy. So I would get money if I was a good girl. I would get money in order to make up for not seeing him for months at a time. There was a energy of that money that was being used to control me to get love. So I experienced that in many relationships in my life. And then I also behaved that way too, right? So I would, good morning. So I would buy people with money. I would feel this love for them. And instead of saying, hey, I love you, I care about you, I appreciate you in my life, let me give you a gesture of buying you something. So I would use money to do that. Now, some people use baking or let me give you something, let me do something for you in order to get love. Now, it doesn't mean that doing for someone or buying something or, your generosity, it's not a problem. What's a problem is when the belief, that idea that in order to get love, you must do something to get it. That creates the biggest gap between you and what you want, the biggest gap between you and money, the biggest gap between you and relationships, connection, whatever it is. Believing you need to do something creates this idea of having to put an obstacle in the way of you and what you want. So I learned to stop buying my way to love and instead learned that when I loved, I got money. So here's what happens. And we talked about this a little bit last week, but there's a literal force of energy that comes into your experience. So when you love, when the law of love is flowing, it's in alignment with an abundance energy. It actually calls an abundance faster than any other frequency because it is operating within the same band of frequency. So abundance loves to show up. It's easier to show up when there's a flow of love. It's easier to show up in that frequency than it is any other frequency. It's easier than fear. It's easier than any of that. And thank goodness. Like, really think about this. Because if it was easy to have an abundance of fear, we would all have a heart attack and have died in our first year of living on our own. I think, but every month when I got a bill, I would have a panic attack, which would then, if abundance loved the frequency of fear, I would have had nothing but panic all month long. And some people do experience that immense momentum, but it usually takes years. It usually takes a long time, right? 10, 15, 20 years to get to a place where it's extreme abundance around fear, because abundance and fear are not similar frequencies. They don't work together well. It will show up with it. You will have more of it. You will repeat it. It will move into momentum, but not quite the same as love. So love has that shared frequency. So the moment you begin to love, now I wanted to bring this up into the conversation of self-love, because we understand that in order to be okay, in order to build a business, in order to build a life, in order to do the things that really matter to us and have meaning, in order to serve others in the way that we want, in order to really be a good parent or lover or friend, we've discovered collectively and culturally at this time that self-love is incredibly important. One of the things that happens with self-love is when you begin to love you and love through you, right? Yes, you can, or you can buy love with banana bread. I love I remember that conversation. But when you are in that place of loving you, what happens? Immediately, the flow of abundance related to wealth and well-being begin to flood. It doesn't take any time at all to turn the tide. It happens fast. It happens faster than the abundance of fear happened. It happens faster than the abundance of worry, anxiety, trauma, drama. It's actually less. You had less of that than you will of love. The moment you tap into love and decide to love you, then that's when you activate the flow of wealth in any area that you want loving you. The universe wants to amplify it. So abundance comes in, that frequency comes in. What it is it's an amplification energy. It feels the love and says, oh, I want to love with you. Oh, I want to love with you some more. Oh, I want to love with you some more. Oh my gosh, it feels so good. And the flow of love is rapid. So that flow of love is rapid. Now, that flow activates money. So you have more money. All of a sudden, things are taken care of. I remember a time when I was just beginning to fall in love with me. And I would drive through, I was living in Canada, and I would drive through the Tim Hortons drive through. And it seemed like every time for several months in a row, someone always bought my coffee in the drive through. And it was so sweet and such a reflection of how much I was willing to be loved, to be an expression of love myself. And so it was so fun to then pass it on, to receive that and to be so grateful and to feel that gesture and then to buy for the person behind me. It was so much fun. So I would experience lots of these things until it began to become, here, I want to pay you. Can you do this thing for me? It became, I want more readings. I want to know more about this numerology thing. I want to know more about this. And the brain game was born. And it became this massive movement in my world, in my business, in my life that's now expanding out. So the amplification of my self-love began to create a better experience for me. And that created a buffer. It began to fill the space of who I was and how I operated in the world, that I then had the energy, the capacity, the desire, with my cup full, taken care of, the desire to pour love into others rose naturally. The more I was loved, the more I loved me and was loved in return, the more I wanted to expand that love out into the world. And so it became easy then to love my purpose. I fell in love with the brain game. I fell in love with it. I just loved teaching it and loved everything about the breakthroughs. I loved getting to the week 5 moment where it was like, oh, we can pivot, we can shift. There's something else beyond this trauma. There's something else here for me. And then getting into week 6 and 7 and then get to 10 and realize the emotional breakthrough of, I've totally changed my life, and watching people do that over and over again. I fell in love with my purpose, and money flowed more because it wanted the purpose to flow through. It wanted money to flow through other people who were involved in the purpose. It wanted more coaches to teach it. It wanted that experience of expansion. That I loved that so much. And then as my purpose changes and evolves and expands, I love that, and it begins to move the love, and the wealth flows through that. So then think about, okay, the love of community. So loving my community, loving my town, loving my province, loving humanity. Imagine focusing so much attention on loving humanity and what might be possible. As we love humanity, we gain the abundance of the universe that says, I want to love humanity with you. And it magnetizes that. And humanity is the focus, and it helps to become a beacon for money. So now abundance wants to flow through humanity, the more of us that love humanity. When we don't love humanity, it's difficult to have the flow of abundance. We have the flow of fear, and it moves slowly and breaks things down, does get to a peak, but it will drop off. But abundance keeps amplifying. So what do you choose to love? So when you think about this conversation, as we've been talking right now, as we've been talking for the last few minutes, thinking about the law of abundance and it moves with love simultaneously, as if they are one and the same, as if they are the best friends, the bosom buddies, the soulmates of the universe, which I really do believe they are. I believe in love and abundance are so close in frequency that they are the expression of soulmate energy. And in that soulmate energy, what is it that you choose? What do you choose to love? Have you loved you enough to flow out to want to love others? Are you feeling that flowing through you? Do you want more of that? Begin each day with, I love me. And in the love of me, I love my purpose. I love the expression. I love my community. I love my family. And then what? What else do you love? Where are you willing to flow it? Not just because when you love it, you get what you want, but because when you love it, you get a lot of what you want. And so does everyone else. You get more and more and more and more because you activate that flow of abundance. The universal soulmate comes in and says, I'm here. I've got you. I've got this. Let's have more of it. And it becomes a celebration. The universe loves to operate in celebration. It loves to reach peak energies. It loves to keep going until it's so much joy you explode, that it's so exciting, it's so exuberant, that just when you think you can't enjoy life more, you do. That's what the universe loves to do. That's where the universe loves to play with you. So what do you want more of? Where would you like to call in that abundance? And know that at any moment when you're feeling love, abundance is joining you. It's joining you instantly. It doesn't have to be coaxed. It doesn't take time. It's instant. And so if you were to feel love for 3 minutes, you would activate abundance that lasts for hours. The abundance would meet you there and just want to amplify, right? It would want to amplify with you for those full 3 minutes. It'd be like, yes, more and more and more, right? And then it would shift it. It would shift your whole reality. It would change your life. This is one of the core ingredients of the brain game. It's what you might not know if you've gone through the brain game. You might not really know that this is what underlies the entire thing. But we're inviting you to love your life through really practical means that help you love it without it having to be something that feels like is airy-fairy. It brings it into a tangible. And I think that's really important. I think the world needs to understand that love is practical. As I spoke already last week, love is fierce, but love is practical too. Love is easy. Love is simple. It's direct. It's in simple actions that you take. It's in everyday motions coming from the perspective of love, being amplified by the law of abundance. Enables you to create in ways that you couldn't create in fear. So when people are like, you need to get that hustle, you need to have that tension, you need to be just a little bit uncomfortable and afraid, I call bullshit. I call absolute bullshit. You don't need to be afraid to motivate yourself. You might feel some discomfort from time to time while you're surrendering to love, while you're recognizing that love is all that needed, but you don't need that either. Love will do it all. Love will abundantly flow. You don't need to hustle. You don't need to jive. You don't need to do any of those things that manipulate and convince the energy of abundance to find you. You don't need to. That's why hustling is so painful. Because when you hustle, you're in fear, you're in fight flight. Hustling is the energy of, I've got to convince the universe to meet me here, which means I've got to do it and do it and do it. I've got to keep going and I've got to keep pulling this stuff in and I've got to exhaust myself and work all these hours and struggle and suffer in order for the abundance to finally meet me here and then show up. You don't have to do that. You can use love. You can tap into love and it'll be here right now. Abundance will flow now, and then now, and then the next now, and then the next now. And it's so extraordinary. It will blow your mind. I remember when it first started to happen, when I started to see it, when I got past the initial Tim Hortons free coffee, which is awesome. But we all know Tim Hortons free coffees don't pay the bills. I hear you all. When you get the abundance flowing, take the free coffees, take the generosity of the world, receive it and pass it on. Don't hoard it. Pass it on, right? Pass it on and keep going, because that activates more abundance. Flow it, receive it and move it, receive it and move it, and it will move beyond that. The moment that it moved beyond that, and I received my first full payment, I remember receiving my first, it was a $10,000, my very first pay in full client was a $10,000 pay in full client. And that client will never know. The very first one, I have thanked her for this. She knows. But I went from barely surviving, really excited about my free Tim Hortons, to a $10,000 payment. And then it continued and it amplified from there. It just kept going. It kept becoming more and more, and it kept getting easier and easier because I kept loving and I kept believing in abundance. So I hope you're feeling this and believing just a little bit more, loving just a little bit more, because this is what you were born to do. You were born to create, and you were born for that creation to be easy. But whatever happened, we're not going to get into the what occurred and how we fell from this understanding, but we fell from it. Once upon a time we knew, which is why we sang and we celebrated and we loved and we nurtured and we ate together and we played together and we celebrated everything we could celebrate. And holidays meant something because we looked forward to the amplification together, the abundance that was generated in a room of people we loved, not people we survived a holiday with, but people we loved to love with, because that amplification of abundance kept going. We celebrated the harvest. We celebrated the love that was being expressed in nature, through us, through nature, through each other. And abundance was natural. And then we fell from it. And then when we fell from it, it became hard and harsh. And the abundance was few and far between. And it is correlative and it is true. When we fell from love, we fell from abundance. Abundance was harder to get. So let's fall back in love with life. Let's fall back in love with the universe. Let's fall back in love with it, whatever we choose, and keep choosing it and keep loving so that we bring abundance back to the world. I believe this is our duty at this time, to love so much that the abundance is so contagious that the world changes before our eyes. All right. Loving you all so much. Thank you for tuning into the series. We're going to bring it into the steps of divine timing throughout this week, but I really wanted to anchor in that energy before we got to some of the other practical pieces, because I don't want us to ever believe that we need to do things to be worthy of the universe. This is so important. This, what we talked about today, is everything. All of the other actions would just happen naturally. They will just happen naturally. And the rest of the series is going to explain how they do and how you can get yourself back on track when you're feeling the loss of love, or you're finding it hard to love, because I know that happens. There are moments when it's hard to love, and it's actually not. You've just gotten caught up in the fear or the pain or the frustration. And so when we come back to the ease of loving, we release that. So I'm gonna help you. These next 21 days are going to really help us make a big shift and pivot. So thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see all you beautiful beings tomorrow morning. Thanks so much, and bye for now.